Hello, livestock friends, and welcome to this edition of Before the Bid. This is a podcast dedicated to the livestock sales industry where we go behind the scenes of the operation and speak straight to the sellers. We discuss topics about the important aspects of their operation, location, the people behind the prep work, and talk about some of the animals that will be offered to you, the prospective buyers. Hopefully, you've got your sale catalog close by. You might have to go look through that pile on your desk. But if not, then you're probably like me and driving down the road or busy with chores around the farm. And that's okay too. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope you enjoy this segment of Before the Bid. I'm your host, Andy Howell. Welcome, livestock friends, to this edition of Before the Bid. And on this podcast, we have a repeat operation, a father and daughter duo here on this one. And just to enjoy them coming back and being on the podcast here again. And if you heard us from last year, a family that I really enjoy, a family that's in the Indiana Angus Association, and they have taken the reins at times and been junior advisors, and now they have two juniors that have aged out of the junior shows, and so they're going to offer some of these cattle that they have. They've been really working on their breeding program and doing a really nice job of that, and they are going to have their third annual open house here at their place at Stilesville, Indiana. And so I want to welcome back to the podcast David and Katie Brock. And guys, just excited for the success that you guys had last year, and I'm excited to hear about this said, and I want to welcome you back to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Andy. It's our pleasure to join you here this evening and talk about the cattle and catch up on everything cattle related.
Right. And you guys have a lot of things going on there at Brock Farms, and you guys do grain, you do the cattle, and you do so much that for the community and the Angus Association and things. And we want to get into that a bit. But David, again, if you would, we talked about it a little last time, but if you would, give us a brief history of how you guys got started in the farming operation and how you guys got started in the cattle.
Okay, well, the farming, we actually live on a farm that my grandparents bought when they started. My granddad, he was a sharecrop for better term, but he grew up farming on shares with landowners and was able to, in 1962, buy this place. And then when him and my grandma were starting to get the best of them, why Chris and I were able to buy this place off my dad and his sisters. And so we're just trying to carry on the tradition. And he really got us started with the farming. And he was a typical farmer in the 60s, had a few cows, had a few hogs, had a few acres to farm, and, just as much as he could get done, with the equipment he had and the hours of the day he had. So, But my mom and dad, they were able to buy a farm on the other side of the US 40, and I grew up over there, and it just, guess you can say I was kind of born into it. I'm the third generation here, and Andy and Katie, they're the fourth. So We're awful proud of them and lifestyle that we've chose and how everybody jumps in together, gets stuff done. So
right. And as you mentioned there a little, you guys started out some in the hogs and some in the cattle, and had both species, right?
Yes, my dad, the hogs were his thing. He built a couple confinement buildings, and we've already turned one of them into what we call the show barn, where we break the calves and we got a wash rack and inside there and do that kind of work, and starting to work on the other one a little bit. Got some carpentry work done, and it's just a slow thing, but we're starting to kind of expand that part of it and use those hog buildings for that. So.
Right. Now the hogs are gone then, right? Because I remember a few years ago we were kind of looking for some show pigs, and I talked to you guys about that, and you guys were doing that just a bit, but that's gone, correct?
Well, yes, that was Dad. He wanted his grandkids to farrow a sow, so each kept a couple gilts, and they was raising some show pigs and selling some and having some success, especially local success a lot, and then some other successes too as well, but they got a big kick out of it. And she graduated, she took the hogs over, and when she decided she was going to college, I told her, I said, well, we'll leave the barn intact, and if you get home from college, we'll buy the gilts and start over, because me and your mom don't want to feed sows while you're at college. So,
how funny is that when the help goes away, some of the animals go away? I hear that so often.
The sows and I moved out at the same time.
Right.
No, I grew up in a hog barn, and that's when I got an opportunity to rent a farm with some cattle on it. I seen my exit strategy to the hog barn, so I was looking for fresh air and cold weather too. But still, glad to be out. So
Right. And I was just talking to my students the other day about that, about how, back when, David, your parents' age and that sort of thing, why they had a few of this and a few of that and a few of these and were so
yes,
diverse. And you guys are kind of proving it in today. You're getting more focused on just a couple things or a few things there, and some of those other things are kind of making their exit.
yes, Andy. Kind of the neat thing about it is you can diversify within a segment of the industry.
Right.
We raise some waxy corn for national starch. We raise some regular corn to feed the cattle and take it to an ethanol plant. You don't have to be solely focused on one thing, even within a segment of the industry. With the cattle, we're trying to sell a few bulls. We're trying to have some numbered-based cattle, some show cattle. We're selling some freezer beef, and meet somebody new and they ask, what do we do with our cattle? And I said, well, I'd like to sell you a calf any way I can, whether it's right off his mama or wrapped up in white paper. So anyway, if you want one, let me know how you want it, and we'll try to help you out. So.
Right. And you guys are continuing on with the beef program, and we talked about that last year, and it's growing quite a bit, right?
Yes. If there was a positive side of the COVID, it's when the beef shortage hit the supermarkets. People really started getting in touch with where their food come from. That's really kind of been uplifting, I guess you want to say, or been neat to watch people re-engage with the people that are actually growing their food. So, but yes, we've retained several customers that we gained during the COVID thing, and people are just, excited to get it. And we take 4 or 5 in, and we try to schedule the appointments where we can bring the beef back. Or we're going to have your beef back at the farm at 6:00, and it's just almost a line in the driveway when we get there with people coming to get it, and how excited they are to have it. And it's a very rewarding side of being the cattle business, I'll say that. So.
Right. And before we get too far, now that you guys have all this operation, you and the boss lady don't just do it by yourself. And so I guess if you would take a few minutes here, introduce the family and introduce those that are involved right there.
Okay, well, we'll start at the top with my dad. He's still very involved. He's usually the first one to the shop in the morning and get things going. And if you got a run to make, he's all about that. He'll go to the vet's office and get something we need, or go to the parts store and get something, or run uptown to the coffee shop for a minute and come back. And by the time he gets back, we've usually tore something up, so he's got to run out of something. So he's there, every morning, kicks the cat out and gets the day started. So.
Right.
But then Chris, the show cattle are her thing. She's the first one out there getting them in, getting them out of the sun and getting them fed and under the fans and ready to go. And, we're kind of focused on the mama cows and getting to the field if we need to be, and, making hay right now and, doing the crop work. So Andy, our son, he went to the Lakeland College, the John Deere Service Tech program. So if we're not in the field doing work, actually, he's usually tuning on something, getting a piece of machinery ready for the next season, just helping us haul grain and anything a farm boy would be doing. So he does a lot of our grooming and clipping of the show cattle. And then Katie, she's kind of overseeing the cattle. She checks through the mama cows and makes sure everybody's got mineral, creek feeders are full. And we should do some rotational grazing, so she'll go through the pastures and move cows around. And then by the time we get those things done, usually, about after lunch, when her and her mom go back up to the barn, start rinsing and doing that stuff, we'll doing a project on the field work or something like that. So I take Andy and do that kind of stuff. So,
right.
But whatever, it's just, most days the day dictates itself. We don't really get to pick what we're going to do, but
right.
But yeah, that's kind of the gist of how things go. And depending on what happens and whether we get to this or that, we all jump in and, help in an emergency case or whatever. So
right.
Kate, she worked a lot of ground and planted some beans this year, and he does all our AIing and helps us get the cows synced up. And well, we all kind of jump in on the hay, especially if we get a string of nice days where we need to mow and rake and bale all in the same day. So, but she'll run a grain cart and do some work here this fall when we get to going. And I don't know what else I got up my sleeve for to do this next fall. So we always try to, you got to keep life interesting and new challenges.
Right. So, Katie, you went off to school. And as we mentioned earlier, the sows and the hogs left with you, I guess. Did you plan to come back and kind of start the pig thing back up and run the cattle as well?
I did. I graduated from Lakeland May of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't necessarily plan on coming back to the farm.
Okay.
That wasn't really in my thoughts at the time. We had some full-time help we thought was going to stick around for a while, and then they ended up getting a different opportunity and going somewhere else. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of took in right out of school, and we had some conversations as I was taking over that growing up, it didn't ever really look like there was going to be a lot of room for more than just Andy. It was kind of a running joke between the two of us that my job for the farm was to marry another farmer and move away so he could have this farm. So, but it turns out there's room for both of us. So growing up, I was always more willing to help in the pasture, the barn, than I was in the field. I was never really a big tractor person.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's all changed. So.
But you are kind of the driving force behind this show cattle thing. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, Mom and I both are. We kind of try to work together on it, definitely. They try to keep me a little reined in on the Semitals and more focused on the Angus at times. And I like to kind of play around on the side with other stuff going on while they stay focused on the Angus. But yeah, Mom and I both keep up with the genetics and what's hot and what's, maybe phasing out.
Mm-hmm. And now you're doing some of the breeding decisions and things like that, correct?
Yeah, we kind of try to sit down as a family and discuss what we want to do, but when it comes to the day of, if something has to change, usually it's trying to make those snap decisions. We're out when we didn't think we would be, or, well, she didn't have a real good standing heat, so we don't want to use something we've only got a little bit of.
Okay. So now Andy does the AIing. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so you just have to tell him what to put in there.
Yeah, we kind of try to get a plan and then meet up. I try to have them up and ready in the barn for him, so he just has to breed them and then move on, get a plan in place.
What I'm trying to get at is you're his boss.
No!
I'm not correct with that?
I felt you going that way. I was trying to sag the other way. Very mutual.
Okay, I was just trying to stir things up there a little bit, and
they've still got the heifers they've showed. They each get the final say.
Oh, okay.
On those. So, but Andy's always been a natural, working with his hands, and we all three went to a AI school. And the first day we sat through the classwork, and that afternoon we went out to the cows. And out of the three of us, he was the first one past the rod on his first time he went in. So
okay.
And he seems to be having the most success getting them bred. So her or either one could breed one in a pinch, but
right.
We both try to make so if we're going to do it of an evening as the sun starts to set, we're going to go find Andy and finish what he's doing so he can come do the actual breeding. So
right. Okay. So you're not gonna let that out that you're his boss then. Okay. All right. We'll move on from that then, I guess, huh? Before I get everybody in trouble. So, that's neat. Because, guys, I've watched these two grow up and watched them come through the Angus program, the Junior Angus program, and these guys are competitive and friends, and of course they're brother and sister, and they still have some of those disagreements, but what a great family and a good job of working together these guys do, and you can just see that they pull each other's weight a little bit and maybe even fire each other up just a little bit, but she's not going to agree that she's his boss, so so we'll go on, I guess. So something that I admire about you guys, and it kind of comes into play with this sale, is you guys are aged out of showing with Katie and Andy, but you guys still had a nice string there at the Indiana Angus Preview and some other shows. And if you would, tell us, why did you guys have all those cattle there?
Well, Andy, when you go back to Chris, my wife, she's very involved with we've got a 4-H beef club. Leader in that, got to doing that as the kids were getting older, and just stuck with that after they graduated out of the 4-H program. And being a Junior Angus advisor, it was always seemed like if there's confrontation or controversy, I guess I tried to step in and do it. But the daily stuff and doing the real good part of that job You know, she just loves helping kids and new families. And, you know, we got a heart for raising the kids. And that's kind of our motto around here is the cows are a tool. We're all just trying to raise kids. And that was kind of how Chris and I done it when the kids were little. And we've just kind of tried to carry that on and helping other families wanting to have the same experience and learn the same lessons that junior livestock can teach so well.
Right. And for those that may not know, you're probably misnaming her, calling her Chris. Most everybody knows her as Mama Brock.
That's true. That's true.
So that just kind of carries through that. But you guys do a nice job and do all you can for juniors and you'll help them out and if they don't have a place to go with those cattle, why they can stay there. And I'm not trying to get everybody to leave their cattle there, but if they're in a real situation, why you guys will do that for them.
Yes, absolutely, Andy. Our county, we're in the donut counties around Indianapolis, and the east side of our county it's just almost, the agriculture is non-existent over there. So for our county to keep, or just our beef show to keep going in our county, we try to give that opportunity to kids that want a place to keep a calf. Got an interest in it. A lot of parents showed calves, but they've got jobs where they don't have a place to keep one. And absolutely, you know, we can work something out to keep them here. And, you know, the kids, they got to come and rinse, and you know, they need to be here 3 or 4 times a week anyway. So, and that's cost us a few customers too. Well, we just not sure we got time for that. Well, better stick with what you're into. So there's so many things for the kids to get involved with. You know, that's wherever you want to put your heart and your effort, that's where you're going to have success. And we've kind of learned that you need to have the kid here doing the work, and then they really enjoy the success when it comes. So
yeah, exactly. And you guys are on your 3rd open house, and you guys have had some success out of the cattle that have left your place in these open houses and other sales as well. But if you would, tell us a little about some of those successes that you guys have had. And you guys had a really nice year this past year with those ones that left out of the second sale.
Yeah, absolutely. We're blessed to have some really good customers that believe in what we're doing enough to get a heifer and then campaign her as much as they can and do as well as they can with her. We had the Beetle family from Illinois. They bought a heifer off of us. She was multiple-time champion and reserve champion at the Illinois jackpot shows. Really had a knack for getting her out where she belonged and making sure she looked the best. Flushmate heifer to that as well. The Genders here in Indiana showed last year. She was the champion Angus heifer and the 4th overall heifer at their county fair. We sold a steer out of the open house. He was a GQ on one of our first class cows. We took him to a couple of the point shows here in Indiana and was champion Angus steer 3 times. He went out and reserved twice.
Oh, wow. And
then back at his fair, he was the 5th overall steer at our fair. Kind of an awfully competitive steer show without being too biased up at Danville, we think. So that's kind of that was last year. Had a couple heifers do some good at their county fairs and some open shows as well the year before. Didn't get as many moved the first open houses we did last year, but definitely had some good customers and really grateful that they believed in our program to do that with.
Right, and guys that are getting those cattle out there, getting them shown, and that's something you always want. And you guys are proving that you guys can do that and get them in the right hands and get them out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the Beetle family out there in Illinois, when I heard one was going out there, I said, boy, she's really found a good home, and it's proved that first she had to be right to go and prove that they can get one done. And so I want to congratulate you guys on all that success. So.
Well, we appreciate that. We're definitely excited to keep getting some good genetics and good heifers out there and get them in the hands that, especially a kid who's got a heart for it and got a heart to show and do well. It's very rewarding to see them get something that they're willing to work with and get just right and showed, and then have some success with that and just have a little bit of a piece of that as well.
Right. And guys, I sell these guys quite a bit of semen through Cattle Visions, or at least they give me a message and say, here's what we need ordered. And so I've seen the semen and the bulls that these guys are using, and I'm thinking, boy, they are really going to change some things and really going to stir some things up. And it sure looks like they have. And it looks like some of these cattle that are in this sale are out of some of those breedings that have come through Cattle Visions and through some of that semen, because you guys are breeding quite of these show genetics. And so it's kind of of change the aspect around there and change the breeding program.
Yeah, absolutely. We kind of joke around about we've got side of our herd, one commercial side and then the purebred cows, and then from the purebred cows we've got the more show focused and then the production focused for the bulls and the numbers, especially for the freezer beef. So making sure we're getting good show sires on the show donors that we've got and trying to get the right matings matched up to at least get something that somebody might think is worth showing.
Right, and it sure seems like you have. So why don't we get into some of those and talking about some of that breeding and get into some of those lots and talk about those. We've got a flyer here of some of these heifers. And first, where can they go to find you guys to look at some of these if maybe they're not familiar with Brock Farms?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get all the pictures done. We'll get them up on our website, and that's brockfarmsanguscattle.com. We're also on Facebook at Brock Farms Angus Cattle, or any of us. We've got personal pages we'll be sharing it on as well. We'll get those pictures up on the website and on Facebook as well. If you happen to be in the area, you're interested in coming to look, we know that Indiana Stock Show Labor Day weekend is 10, 15 minutes away from the barn. So if you happen to be in the area and want to look, I know you're finishing up one season, but if you're ready to look for the next, we'll have the barn open. Give us a call. We'd love to show them to you. And as well as all the cattle that get moved on Labor Day weekend will be around. If you want to come see them before, or you want to just see them in person before sale comes up and then come again on the sale day, that'd be great.
And I was telling you guys earlier, you guys have had some people come in already and look at these cattle. And I got a call the other day, and they said, hey, you need to go up and look at these Brock cattle because they really are good. And this isn't, this isn't somebody that's just common everyday Joe. This is a person that's really been around and seen quite a few of them. And so they said, hey, you need to come up there and look at them. So I'm excited to hear about them, excited to see some more pictures of them, and hopefully even be able to get up there ourselves and look at some of these cattle. So the third annual fall open house is going to be September 11th. And tell us a little about how that's going to go and what you guys do with this, because it's not like an online sale or it's not a live sale, but it's an open house kind of a sale.
Yeah, so the structure of the day, we'll get them up, get them fed and ready. We'll open the barn at 2. We'll have a bid board up the entire time, be taking bids all day long. We'll try to get that board closed by 6 or close thereafter. If you're interested in a heifer, just get you a number, put it on more of a private treaty type than a live auction or an online sale even. We'll manage that all through the farm here and then give you a call. Definitely don't have to stay all day. More than welcome to if you want, but we'll make sure we let you know if you get bumped off and make sure if you want the heifer, we'll do our best to get her to you.
Right. That was going to be my next question. What if I can't stay all day or what if I have to come the weekend before? Can I still do that and keep paying attention to what the board says and keep bidding?
Absolutely. We'll take anything. So
okay.
Dad usually kind of manages that side of making sure the board's up to date and keeping numbers on everybody. We'll get bidder numbers or even leave a phone number and a bid with us if you come before, and we'll make sure to use that wisely. And if we can get you the calf you want, we'll get you and make sure we keep in touch with you to make sure that happens.
Now, on phone calls and things, that people that can't stay, and you want the bid board to close at 6, is that kind of the initial bid you want to close at 6 because there might be a little bit of calling going on?
We're going to probably start calling about 5:30.
Okay.
Just we don't want to drag it on all
right.
night. It would be great to drag it on all
right.
night. If anyone wants to drag it on all night Saturday, that would be awesome. But we'll probably start calling about 5:30, and we'll if you get knocked off, we'll probably give you a call, give you plenty of time to think about what you want to do. Don't have to give us an answer right away, but at least time to consider what you're doing here and not so much rush like at a live auction or an online sale.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. And this is your third one. So you're kind of getting accustomed to that and learning some things from the first two to make this third one even better, right?
Yeah, this is the second one we've had a bid board at, more of a formal sale. And seemed to work last year. And we sold the ones we wanted to sell, and we got heifers placed in real good homes, and willing to try it again this year and see what we can get on. Where Andy and I have kicked around trying to get something about an online auction set up, but be far in the future. So we'll keep doing the bid board till we get something else figured out.
Okay. All right. Well, whatever works.
Yeah.
As long as it works and you guys can manage it and cattle are getting to where they need to be, why, if it isn't broke, don't fix it, right?
Well, we haven't broke it yet, so.
There's not 100 head in the sale, Andy,
Right.
so it's not, it's manageable right now pretty well.
Right. Right. And I'm looking here on Facebook, and there was a post. We're talking about 7 or so Angus heifers and Angus steer. We stepped outside and got some of those semis, and we got a sim solution and a couple other steers, correct?
Yeah, from that post, we've ended up adding a couple steers and moving one out. So
Okay.
we're up to 12 head now. 8 of those are heifers.
Mm-hmm.
Of those heifers, 7 are Angus. We've got one sim solution. And then the steers, we got a little bit of everything.
Okay.
We've got a purebred Angus steer and a steer that'll show as a Semital, a steer that can show as a mane, and then a crossbred steer as well.
Okay. Well, Katie, why don't you just break in and start telling us about some of these?
So what I kind of want to lead off talking about, while it's still a little bit fresh in our minds, that we've got another flushmate heifer to the Bedell and the Ginder heifers we showed last year. If you remember from our sale last year,
Mm-hmm.
would be the lot 1 and 2 heifers. This year, she's a March 20th.
Mm-hmm.
One we think's pretty exciting. She's probably more closely resembles the lot 2 heifer if you look from last year.
Mm-hmm.
But that same bloodline. We'll do a little refresher on the donor. If we had a favorite donor, she'd definitely be it. One of our most successful donors to date. She was a class winner herself at Hoosier Beef Congress, 3rd overall at our county fair.
Mm-hmm.
Has produced some of our most popular calves. That mating itself would be the Ginder heifer and the Bedell family heifer.
Mm-hmm.
Had a GQ as well that was shown in 2020 at our county fair. She was 3rd overall heifer.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, if we have a heifer or a donor that we are kind of leaning towards as our favorite or our most successful, that Clover heifer would definitely be it. We call her Bailey, but
Mm-hmm. Okay.
so we've got that. That would be our 2106, her BFAC Bailey 2106. Haven't set lot numbers yet just because they're changing so much right now, but we'll be doing that and getting that posted with our lot numbers. But that'd be a March 20th Primo. Back on a class and donor in that Clover heifer.
Okay. And if we come look at her, we're looking for tag 2106, right?
Yes.
Or
yep.
Okay, until you get them lotted, or even if you get them lotted, hey, where's the 2106? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we can steer you towards her.
Great.
And then out of that same vein, we've got of Primo heifers. We've got 2 flush mates out of a fall calf we bought off of Foster Family
Mm-hmm.
in Michigan. The donor is the flush mate to Sydney Schnorr's 2015 North American Reserve Grand Champion heifer
Mm-hmm.
and a multiple-time division winner at national shows.
Mm-hmm.
The heifer we bought was 2nd in her class at the Hoosier Beef Congress and was 8th in her real competitive fall class at Junior Nationals in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Andy and I kind of partnered up showing her as a senior calf. Andy showed her his 10th year in 4-H, and then I showed her as a senior yearling.
Mm-hmm. I remember that one. She's good.
Yeah. We've got a February 20th to offer. That'd be BFAC Bardo 2102. And then a flush mate that was in our 2nd embryo group, which would be a March 23rd, BFAC Bardo 2107. Both out of Primo.
Okay. 2102 and 2107. Okay.
Yep. Their donors also out of class, and so kind of different donors, but a lot of the same genetics
Uh-huh.
in those first 3 heifers.
Okay.
Then to kind of finish out our AI part of the sale, we've got Insight heifer that would be a 2nd generation out of that Clover cow. Her mom, the Austin family, showed in 2017, and she was reserve senior yearling division at the Indiana Junior Preview Show.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've got an AI calf out of Insight for her. That'd be BFAC Bailey 2101.
Okay.
Born February 11th, 2021.
Okay.
Getting some of our Clover donor genetics in there.
Mm-hmm. And you say Clover is a what? Clover's out of who?
Classen.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So they would be similarly related to that lot 1 and 2 heifer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Great. Who else we got?
We've got a really exciting kind of a funny story. Mom was on the Cates family, the Sunrise Sunset Farms, their spring sale, looking at the embryos, and ended up getting on some Dameron Proven Queen 333s back on watch out. Bought 3 of them. All 3 of them stuck.
Oh, wow.
Got 2 heifers in a bull.
Jeez.
I also made some purchases on some Semital embryos, and they didn't stick, but it's not a big deal.
She's not better.
There's no rub between Mom and I on that. Kept one to put in our open house, and we're keeping one back for us. But I think we've got the prettier, the probably more show appropriate heifer in the open house.
Great.
She's March 17th.
Mm-hmm.
Out of watch out. That Dameron Proven Queen has been a super dominant donor for the Cates family. We jumped at the opportunity to purchase some of her genetics. Numerous champions for Sunrise Sunset Farms, including a division champion at Cattlemen's Congress and National Western Show, as well as a reserve division at the North American for Sarah Sullivan. So those heifers of Cates's that Sarah's campaigning, these heifers are maternal siblings. So, or this heifer is a maternal sibling.
Oh, wow.
So she's BFAC Proven Queen 2105.
2105, okay.
And then get into our bull bred section. We had 2 donors that we had flushed, IVF. We're real excited, thought we had them AI'd, and then unfortunately they slipped, but luckily had them with a blue chip cleanup bull that we think did a pretty awesome job on these 2. We'll start with the Frontier gal. She's March 4th. She's BFAC Frontier gal 2104.
Okay.
Her mom, Seldom Rest Frontier gal 5088, would be the heifer Andy showed his 10th year in 4-H, and she definitely made it memorable for him. She was second in her May class at Junior Nationals out in Nebraska in 2016, and then went on to be the reserve grand champion heifer at our county fair. I've been super excited to get some of her progeny on the ground. Kind of this is the first opportunity we've had to do that, trying to flush her, and got her a little messed up in her hormones, but we've got her straightened back out having calves of her own. If Dad's got a favorite heifer in the barn, I think it's this one. He keeps pushing me to make her lot 1. So we'll see what happens. But definitely a heifer. If you catch the flyer we put out that's just got the 4 heifers on it.
Sure.
She's one on there. But a blue chip back on an Insight cow. That Frontier gal is out of Insight. Did a lot of good for Andy. Did a lot of good for the program. I'm really excited to have something of hers to put in the sale this time.
Yeah, she is nice.
Yeah. And then we go on, same cleanup bull in BFAC Lucy 2103. She's a February 26th heifer out of a Seldom Rest Lucy 7059. I showed 7059 my senior year. She was 3rd in her class at Denver. Goes back to the legendary Dameron Lucy 868. 7059 went on to be reserve Angus heifer at our county fair, and one of her daughters, BFAC Lucy 1903, was a junior calf champion at the Indiana Open Show and the Bred Known junior calf champion at the Preview Show, and won her class at the State Fair Open Show. We showed them as a cow-calf pair in 19.
Awesome.
So we've got another blue chip Winnie, blue chip son back on that cow. She is an Insight. The Seldom Rest Lucy is. Okay. And then that's kind of the lineup of the Angus heifers.
Good.
And we'll finish out the heifer division with the Sim Solution. This is KMB Penny 215J. She was born February 11th. She is out of Seldom Rest Penny. We bought that donor out of the sale in 2015, I believe. She's a Luton back on the EXAR Penny. Pretty exciting. We've one of our bigger frame donor cows, trying to find something to put her on, and thought maybe we'd make her a little more moderate with some Semital genetics, and ended up breeding her to elevation, sex heifer semen, and got this calf here in February. She's half Angus, half Semital, so she will show as a Sim Solution.
Half blood.
In Indiana.
Cool. Good. That sounds like wow. That sounds like some neat breeding right there.
Yeah, at least a genetic piece, if nothing else, I think.
Right.
something a little exciting, bringing a little bit of older Angus genetics into the play as well.
Mm-hmm. You're not going to talk Dad into letting her be Lot 1 since you like the semis?
No, I don't think so. If I couldn't talk him into letting my Semital from last year be Lot 1, I don't think I'm going to let him do it this year either. I'll have to start doing my own thing if I want the Semitals to be too further up in the lots, I think.
Well, Andy, she's leading off the Semital division part of the sale, so.
Yeah, yeah. Katie, you're just going to have to show him who's boss now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Good enough. Good enough.
He keeps me on a pretty tight rope. So.
Right. Right. Well, that's all right. We got to do that to our daughters every once in a while. So, what else we got?
Yeah, so there's the 8 heifers we've got,
Mm-hmm.
and then we move in to finish out the 12. We've got 4 steers.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said earlier, one of everything.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start with the Angus. He is out of that same blue chip cleanup bull
Mm-hmm.
that the 2 Angus heifers I finished up with are.
Right.
Back on an Insight cow. He's one, probably if you go back and look at the podcast we did with you last year, more closely resembles the Lot 5 Angus steer, the steer that did so well
Mm-hmm.
for the Deno family last year. Probably a little more sound, gets around a little better than the Lot 5 steer does, but definitely we think even this early has some potential to do well, especially as an Angus steer. Has a more showy look than the traditional Angus steer look.
Well, good.
And then our Semital steer, I bought these eggs off of Joe and Larry Horchman.
Sure.
They're in West Lafayette. And this, of course, I had 2 of them that stuck. They were the 2 first calves we had born out of our second embryo group, and they were both bull calves. So I'm not exactly sure how he did it, but I think Joe and Larry might have sent me the bulls and kept the heifers for themselves. But it's okay. It's all right. I was extremely excited when they were the first 2 calves because how often do you have bull calves that are early?
Right.
Not the case, but that's okay.
Right.
Pretty exciting Semital steer, I think. He's March 13th.
Mm-hmm.
Quantum Leap back on the Senate Temptress heifer. I believe Ellie showed her. She did real well for Ellie. Ended up, I think, winning the Semital sweepstakes for her.
Mm-hmm.
This steer, he's 25% Angus, 75% Semital, so he will show as a Semital steer
Mm-hmm.
in the state of Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got a cross steer out of BFAC Insight 1658. We showed that bull in 17. He was a division reserve at the junior preview show and did, I think, second in class at the state open show.
Mm-hmm.
Did pretty well. We really like to use him on any of our show cattle that aren't Insight themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Keep a little look into him, and he's done that. Out of a bred heifer I bought off of Hortzman's a couple years ago that Grace Klingheimer showed for them.
Mm-hmm.
That cow herself is out of LAH New Technology, so he's pretty exciting to look at now. He's unfortunately nothing we can get registered, being 5/8 Angus and 3/8
Mm-hmm.
Semital, so he'll show as a cross, but I think he'll do really well, especially for someone looking to do some jackpots early. Since he's a March 4th, he
Mm-hmm.
might have a little trouble getting him to later county fairs and state fairs since he's so big now, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely something I think would be good for somebody with an early county fair if that's their goal, or jackpot shows.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll round out the steer division with a main steer. He was born April 14th out of that same Insight bull we raised
Mm-hmm.
back on an I-80 cow.
Mm.
2 years ago, we had the same mating a full sib to this steer that we sold out of the open house, and he was reserve main steer at our county fair.
Mm-hmm.
Did really well for that family, and kind of excited to have him again. You know, we'd have liked her to stuck AI, but didn't complain too much when we got a
Right.
baldy steer to sell. He's the only steer we've got with any color on him, so
Mm-hmm.
be something to look for when you come. But he'll be able to be registered as a main if the customer's looking for that, or if wants to show him as a crossbred. Of course, that's always an option, but something we think has the potential to do all right in a steer ring coming from an Angus dad.
Mm-hmm. Aren't those baldies kind of cool? Just something a little bit different when you breed Angus cattle or black semi cattle, and you get a baldy out there, and just a little bit something different to look at.
Oh yeah.
Well, Andy, when you're on a gator with your daughter, she is trying everything under God's green earth to get a baldy heifer. and you see that baldy calf fumbling around, mom licking him off. I mean, you go to the highest high, and when you go around behind there, see that he's a steer, you go right back to where the lowest low. So it's an emotional roller coaster with the baldies.
Yeah, I've got a little girl that's kind of the same. So of course we got a whole lot of Angus cattle, but something different with a little bit of color, or a little bit of baldy, or a little bit of white. Why, they're all over it, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Luckily, we've got a lot of our commercial cows that Dad kind of started out with some Hereford bulls, and we still got baldy coming through there. Our replacement heifers this year it's 15 black heifers, and I was a little upset. We had one baldy in there and ended up selling her as a feeder calf. She just didn't turn out, and I was afraid we were breeding out of our baldies, but I got a few crossbred baldies on the ground. I'm really campaigning to keep around.
Oh, well, that sounds neat. Yeah, something a little bit different. Everybody loves a baldy, right? So, well, it sounds like quite a set. I'm interested in getting up there and seeing those cattle. And like I said, I got a phone call on them the other day. Somebody that looks at a lot of cattle, and they were like, you got to come see these cattle. So just want to encourage everybody listening or watching on the podcast video to get up there and see these cattle. If you don't know the Brocks, man, you got to meet them. They are great people and want to do the right thing and do it the right way, and just have a lot of respect from the Brock family and Katie and Andy growing up. I watched these guys grow up, and so these guys do it right, and just get you to go talk to them, give them a phone call, go see them, whatever that might be. So this is the right family, the right place to do that. So,
well, Andy, I want to extend an invitation to you and anybody else. Glad to see anybody and take a minute to talk about the cattle. And you invest this much time and effort. Whether you bid on anything or not, it's nice to have somebody come show some interest in them. So
right, and they may even be able to find something for somebody else.
There you go. Yeah, you never know. So
yeah, that was kind of the way that heifer got to Illinois last year.
Absolutely,
is my understanding. So
absolutely.
Go if you got anybody else that might need one or something. Why, maybe you're full or maybe you've got enough or something like that. Why, still this would be a great place, and yeah, if nothing else, go meet them. So, David, you guys have a little bit of sometimes things happen, and at that moment you're not real happy about it. But it kind of works out in the end, right?
It's like that. It's like Katie and her baldies. You're excited, and then you think, "Oh boy!" and then got to figure out what you're going to do. But we've got a donor cow, a Dameron Primrose. She's a direct daughter of first class.
Mm-hmm.
She's out of the Primrose cow Damerons have had a lot of success with. We went to a sale and seen her nursing a heifer calf. And I told Chris, I said, these first-class daughters, they're going to get pretty scarce. And if you can have one to breed with and get her bought right as a bred heifer would be the. So anyway, we got on her and got her. And she was nursing this heifer calf. So we put her with the SSF Lady cow that Katie won the open preview show and the Supreme Heifer at the State Fair open show with in 19. And we got to flushing these two, and they were right in line for fall breds. And as we flushed them, the people, the Transova, they were calling, saying, hey, we got these that aren't quality to freeze. What would you like to do? And I said, well, just put them in the cows and see what happens. She said, oh, you'll get 1 and 3 to stick. And darn if we didn't end up with eight pregnancies. So,
wow.
So we've got some calves here, and we just think they're going to turn out to be something pretty special. The Dameron Primrose, like I said, she's a direct daughter to first class. We've got some express pregnancies. We've got some on-point pregnancies, which is a Primo son from cases. And then this lady cow, she's a Primo direct daughter. We've also got some express calves out of her. And then we got first round pregnancies on her. So we're going to offer some of these calves this spring as a fall born sale. We've got 8 pregnancies here out of those 2 deals. We were hoping for 1 of each. So anyway, we're not going to hold them back. We're going to show y'all, if you're interested, we're going to try to get them all 8 of them. Hopefully we get 8 calves out of them in the barn and start working this spring to have a fall. We're not sure how exactly we're going to work it. We would probably just price them, and if somebody would be interested, see if we can work something out. But no, we're going to try to. advertise it through Facebook. And Katie just had a banner time SSF Lady heifer we showed her. And what a tremendous way to end your junior deal with the success she had in the show ring with this heifer. So, the real reason we bought her is to get these calves. So like to show them to some people, and it doesn't do us any good just to have them there behind the barn. Nobody knows you got them. So.
Right.
Got a bill or two from having 8 of them, so we'd like to help get paid. So if you're looking for a fall, it's usually not as competitive, that division. And if you got 2 kids trying to show an Angus calf, sometimes that's a way that at least you're not in the same class together,
right.
Same division. So, but yeah, we'd like to offer these and see if we can't get something done on a different angle, more diversification, I guess you can call it. So.
Right, and as you talked earlier, you can be a lot diversified in the same entity.
Yes, absolutely.
Right, so adding some fall calves and fall breds there and Brock Farms. So those sound very, very interesting.
We're excited to see them.
Yeah. So yeah, I sure would be. So, guys, anything else we need to know about this open house before we wrap this thing up?
Just feel welcome to stop and look, and hopefully we can hook you up with something. Or you're not going to get pressure from us, but you are going to be welcomed. And we like to show them, and we spend a lot of time with them. We like to show them to people. So whether it's something you can use or not. So.
Right.
On that note as well, we didn't exactly talk about where we're located. We said Stylesville.
Sure.
We're about 45 minutes west of Indianapolis. If you happen to be kind of coming through, a lot of cattle get moved Labor Day weekend here in the state of Indiana. And if you're passing through the area, we'd love to have you stop by. Again, we're pretty close to that Indiana Stock Show there in Cloverdale coming up the week of Labor Day weekend, and love to have you come up and stop as well. Any calf we sell, somebody who's might be wanting to get into it and wanting to learn, the entire family comes with us. I don't know, we're definitely not the best team in the industry, but we want to share what we have learned in the 15 some odd years between Andy and I we've been showing. Love helping young kids get started. So if you need help getting them clipped, we'll get Andy up there, help you get them clipped, take you to the shows, get them fit for you, teach you what we know at least. And if we can start somebody with the experience we gained over 15 years of us showing and the 10 years before that Dad showed, we can try to get you started a little higher, if nothing else, on the things we've gathered in our time.
Right. And I've watched you guys grow, and they are. What a good family to get in with, especially if you're starting out. And I just commend these guys on what they've done and the growth they've had and the breeding success that they've had and all the success from last year. So, yeah, Katie, what a great place to get started.
Well, we appreciate having us on and the customers that have believed in us. We wouldn't be continuing to do this if we didn't have somebody believing in the program and being interested in showing calves that we raised and really interested in working with them and getting them shown where they need to be shown. And this kind of just on the edge of something we've kind of been dreaming about for a long time, having show calves and getting them shown. And I know at least Andy and I have. Mm-hmm. It's exciting times, and we're excited to see anybody who wants to come out the 11th or anytime before then. We'd love to show you the heifers and the steers. Seems like we get a lot more people looking at heifers, but that's okay.
Right,
We've got the steers too. So.
Right.
But love just helping kids. Andy and I have gone through the program and the people we've met and the things we've learned. We want to help as kids who've got a heart for it to do the same.
What a great way to wrap that one up. Again, the Brock family, Brock Farms, and they have an open house on September 11, 2021. Barn opens at 2 o'clock. If you haven't made it before there, the bid board opens at 2. Bid board, they try to close that down at 6 o'clock. So, guys, appreciate you coming on here and want to wish you luck and get those cattle out where they need to be. So, again, just appreciate it very much, guys.
Well, thank you, Andy. It's, like always, it's been a pleasure to visit with you and spread the word a little bit and go from there. So.
Sure, we hope to, and that's our goal. So I want to thank you guys, the Brock family, and also we want to thank you for listening to another edition of Before the Bid podcast. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Before the Bid. For more information and to learn more about upcoming podcasts and sales, visit us at beforethebid.podbean.com or Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram pages. For information on being a guest on Before the Bid, please email us at beforethebid@gmail.com or one of our social media pages. Remember, that's beforethebid@gmail.com. Happy sales to you, and we will talk to you next time on Before the Bid.